Good afternoon, Pantheon community, and welcome back to yet another community watch party for the Pantheon developer stream. This is the day after the Pantheon developer live stream. You might have noticed the actual live stream from the developers happened last night. And I'm going to react to it today because I am completely spoiler free. I have seen none of it other than the promo that they put out the other day, which was that this stream is about the Ghaldassi Giants, which reside in Wild's End. And I must say that the screenshot that they posted with that promo was of the Ghaldassi ruins, which was interesting because 4 months ago, 4 developer streams ago, they showed the Ghaldassi ruins in a very basic Graybox form. But then in the screenshot that they shared with the promo for this month's stream, it is not Grayboxed at all and actually looks quite polished and quite nice. So that will be interesting to see, but other than that, I have absolutely no idea what to expect because last night I actually even forgot that the stream was even going on. Like this stream was planned. I've always planned to do it today. That's something that I've been trying out lately that's been fun. So that way we can, pause the stream if necessary. But last night, while the live stream was actually going on for VR, I was very deep in my work on my next YouTube video that I'm working on. I was so immersed in that I completely even forgot that the stream was going on last night. So and if you go back to my developer watch party from last month, at some point I had mentioned, you may remember, that I was I had this idea to make a video about Pantheon's network library because that was one of the main features of last month's dev stream. They showcased the server software that Kyle has been working on called Vinyl and was talking about how important it is, and that but there was a lot of technical details that I think went over a lot of people's heads, including my own, and just the whole backstory actually of the whole server stack replacement, that whole process, which is part of their road to alpha. There's a bit of a backstory to that, and there's just a lot to it. So little did I realize when I said that, oh yeah, maybe I'll make a video about that. I didn't realize how deep it went and how difficult it was going to be to actually put together a coherent video about that. So that's pretty much what I've been working on for the past month, and writing that script and rewriting the script, and fortunately now the script is done. The video itself is in production, and that will be out next week. So I'm excited about that, and I'm trying to get that done as soon as possible because there's a lot of really important info just about Pantheon's development in general in there. And so, in fact, as soon as this stream is done, I will upload this to YouTube and then probably post it tomorrow, and then sometime next week I will release the network video. So I'll be working on that as soon as this stream is done. Anyway, that's where I'm at. How are you guys doing? Been busy. Hojo says that intro is amazing. Thank you. That was a lot of fun to put together too. And my editor Sean played a big part in that as well, bringing that to life. So I'm glad you like it. The Rancid Turnip. I see Bitcruns. Speaking of Bit, he actually, in the network video that I'm working on, he has been hugely helpful in helping me kind of wrap my head around the more technical aspects of the network library and the whole network stack integration, because it's complicated. But if you've been watching my videos and my YouTube channel, you know that I like to try to boil things down as much as possible, make it as accessible and as simple as possible to understand, because we're not all programmers. And so that has been the difficult thing about writing this video, is trying to take these like huge complex topics and boil it down into like a 20-ish minute video, so that people will understand. So and Bit has been a big part of that. The Sparrow, Grizzly, the Crinkled One. Good to see you guys in this afternoon. We're still trying out the afternoon time slot. I think this is the second time we've done like an early afternoon, at least my time, stream. So I like it though. I like it. There's Ziplocks. So did you guys already watch the stream last night? You're coming back for seconds. Let's go ahead and switch over into watch party mode. You might notice that I did a little bit of rearranging here. It looks a little bit different. I made some more room for you guys down here. Remove some things around, not hugely different, but we got more room for chat. I want you guys to be a part of the show. And also, I just noticed, is this new? I just now noticed they have reduced the glow in the O in their logo. It used to be that blue would come out, it would extend out past this O, and my guess is that is an intentional like design choice that they recently made, and I could probably even guess as to why they did that, because glow effects in logos can be very tricky, and they can look very cool, but they can come back to bite you if the edges of your logo are not really crisp. Like when it comes to printing merch, for example, I ran into this. You might remember my previous logo had a lot of glow effects going on and like gradients and stuff. It was, you might remember that it said, it said BAZGRIM, and then the TV was in this like stone, like dwarven rune that was like had fire in it, and it was like glowing red around the edges, and the glow was a big part of the appearance of that rune. But it did not translate onto merch very well, that glow effect, and also the logo itself only looked good on like a dark background, so that you could get that contrast to make the glow look right. And so it kind of was limiting as to the places that you can use it, which is why there's a big part of the reason why I rearranged the logo to what it is that you see now in the bottom left of my layout. Obviously, yes, I know it still has fire and some glow, but the glow aspect of it is very easily removed, and it doesn't take away much from the logo at all. If the logo is like, if the glow is integral to your logo, it really limits you. But now, like the merch that I have that has this logo on it, just doesn't have the glow aspect of it, and it still looks totally fine. I can, I only use it when it's in video form. But anyway, that's a long tangent. It's just something I just happened to notice that I think is kind of interesting. That they kind of dialed that back. You guys notice that as well? Oh, maybe I'm completely just talking out of my butt here, because Rancid Turnip says it's a new animated intro screen and you won't see it until I start the video. Oh, well, that would explain it too. I mean, that's cool. I just literally this is all I have seen of the stream, so I wouldn't have known that. Is that new? Like, is that new of this month, or did I just completely miss that last month? Speaking of merch, by the way, go get your Imminence 2022 merch at designbyhumans.com/shop/BAZGRIMTV. This logo does not have any glow on it. It is obviously, you might notice some resemblance there. We did recreate this completely by scratch, and there's no copyright issues or anything. But there's no glow in this logo. Anyway, enough about that. You did not come here to talk about logos. We came here to watch the stream, so I'm gonna shut up and get my headphones on. Unmute the stream. All right, let's just dive in. Let's go. Oh.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the February 10th, 2022 Pantheon.
That's right. Okay, sorry. One thing that I forgot to mention that I just remembered just now. We're 20 seconds in and I'm already pausing the stream. This, I believe, is the first stream where they're trying out like a more condensed format. They mentioned this last month. So this was planned for the duration of the streams, their monthly dev streams, to be shorter. It looks like this one is about 42 minutes. If I remember correctly, I think they were targeting like a half an hour, so it's a little bit longer than that. 42 minutes is still good. It's shorter than the hour that they used to be. Again, just try to make these streams a little less bulky, a little more accessible, and punchy, and that also gives the devs who are actually, building the game more time to build the game. You might notice that Joppa is not in this stream. Normally he's in the streams, but I think this is probably the first dev stream ever that hasn't had Joppa in it, and so it'd be interesting to see how that goes. But at the end of the day, if you ask me, as much as we all love to hear from Joppa, it's more important that he does his very important job of actually bringing the game to life. So let's see what Ronik and Minus can bring us here.
And Rise of the Fallen development stream. I am your host, David Ronik Schlau, and with me is my co-host, Tony Guidi, aka Minus. How you doing, Minus?
Good, man, and welcome everybody to the stream tonight. Pretty excited. For everyone who hasn't been following the streams, a little different format this year. David and myself are looking to put together a little more compact versions of these streams, so they're a little bit more shareable, but also really rich with information. Right? We're trying not to have filler as much. But I'm sure we'll see some different things. So tonight's stream is going to be along those lines, if I'm not mistaken, right, Ronik?
Yeah. I got to be honest with you. I kind of feel like this is a little bit like the inmates running the asylum here. Just, no Brendyn, no Joppa. Like, beans could fly all over.
Hey, maybe. Well, the cat's
but yeah, so tonight we're going to be talking about the Giants. of Terminus. We're going to start out with some lore. Some of it is a little bit of a refresh, and then we're going to be talking about the Ghaldassi Giants in particular and the ruins that they've left on Terminus. And we'll have some lore from JN there, and then we'll be heading over, and I believe Jared has a video on some concept art. And then we're going to be kicking it back to some footage we may have, some screenshots and stuff from in game. So let's let's start.
Awesome. So you go ahead with the lore, and I'll get some shots of concept art and some giants up here for people. What do you think?
Sounds perfect. So yeah, like I said, this is going to be a little bit of a refresh for some of you to start, and then we're going to head to some new stuff. This is from the Book of J.N. Gerhardt.
Sexy.
This is on giants. Who are also known as the Gigana. And the Gigana are quite clearly of immense stature, often growing to heights 3 to 4 times that of a human. Physically, they are varied body type and mass, some staying slender and nearly gaunt, such as the Elevin of Kingsreach, others maintaining a more proportionate shape, such as the Hisari of Rainfall. Still others hold girth of prodigious portliness, such as the various seaside Gigana who wade into the ocean depths, in search of beasts to feed their monstrous appetite. In addition to their exceptional size, giants are known for lifespans far longer than the average mortal, with 200 to 300 years of age being not altogether unheard of. At times, this has caused mortals of fewer years to conclude that these titanic creatures are actually made from rock, wood, or barnacle, elements that are known to be embedded into the feet and limbs of giants. The strength of Giana is as self-evident as their size, once again lending credence to their mythical origins. A scant 2 giants have been known to shake the foundations of large buildings or fortifications by themselves, either with the force of their fists or the ground, or by taking turns leaping in the air. So the strength of the giants leads us to the building of the Ghaldassi ruins. And I don't know if you want to throw up some of the concept art that we got for the Ghaldassi ruins. So rising up from the layers of Wild's End are the splinters of a long-forgotten power. The remnants of a tribe of giants known as the Ghaldassi are all that remains of a mighty and mysterious people. What ushered in their downfall or has hastened their abandonment of these lands remains sealed within their strange inscriptions. Otherwise, the towering fragments they left behind are more rotting timbers than tell-all tombstones. Now, one may be forgiven for missing the ancient stone remnants of the Ghaldassi Giants, even as you look upon them. Local vegetation has drawn a thick curtain over what lies beneath. Much like time has laid a fabric of mystery over the structure's creators. Vines, roots, and the nests of the native valley croon have claimed the majority of their stone surface, hiding what was once a vast cultural complex. Atop the broken pillars and doorway roosts the lowland type of croon, a winged predatory wyvern that enjoys feasting on the unwary and feeding chunks of flesh to their ravenous young. Beneath the flora, fauna, and croon lie the neglected signs of the Ghaldassi habitation. Perhaps as old as 10,000 years, the stonework is surprisingly resilient. It contains the remnants of dwellings, pavilions, and bridges pointing to a civilization that had a dominant grip on the land. The script of the Ghaldassi is a mix of picture and rune, a hieroglyphic hybrid known as Gelendul. Jayan's going to kill me for that one. Those who study the stonework say the massive blocks appear as if they were cut from the symbols immediately present rather than having the pictographs added afterwards. The vegetation may also be aiding in this preservation, achieving a protective layer with minimal cost to the stone. Most of the damage seems to have come from earthquakes and battle rather than time. It should be noted that there is no debate whether the stone is of local origin, at least as far as the dwellings are concerned. It neither weathers nor chips when struck. Breaking may a pick laid upon it. The lingering questions regarding the Ghaldassi nation are about who they truly were, as well as why they ultimately departed this land. The only reason their name is known at all is due to an Elven request that it was given to the halflings shortly after their settlement in Wild's End. The request was spoken and given in writing by an emissary of the Rowan giant tribe, and it is requested the smaller race neglect the Ghaldassi throne, deny the Ghaldassi heir. Of this, the halflings have had no trouble, as it proves nothing of interest to the majority of the host apart from croon hunting, and it seems likely that the Ghaldassi have died out entirely.
It's awesome.
I gotta be honest with you. I don't know how JN does it. He unfortunately JN was feeling a little under the weather, so we don't have his smooth voice to tell the lore. But I feel like he really tells those stories excellently. And we'll have more on the Giants and the Ghaldassi in the newsletter that'll be coming out soon.
Yeah, for anyone out there who's a big lore head, there's more to be had. And just be thankful, David. I'm sure that if it was me reading it, the butchery to some of those names and terms would have been, I wouldn't hear the end of it. So I'm very happy you read that and did so very elegantly for everybody. So yeah, the Giants are really exciting, man. They're huge, right? And then we kind of highlight the fact that the Giants aren't just one size. There's really, really big Giants. There's medium-sized Giants. You have, it's almost like sea giants, how they were talking about the barnacle, which was kind of cool. So there's a lot to learn about these giants and these beings that I think when we come across in Terminus, we're going to be like running the other way, right? So
yeah. And I, as much I think of myself as a storyteller, I think we may have somebody who might be slightly better able to talk further about the giants and the concept.
Yeah, so we're really excited to share. We have a video for you. It's going to go on for a little bit here, and it's awesome. You're going to laugh. You're going to cry. You're going to enjoy this greatly. But from our lead artist, Jared Pollan, if you haven't heard of him before, you will now. This should be a great one for everybody. David, I'm really excited for people to hear this, see this. So I'm going to go ahead and start this up, and you guys are going to get probably the most ample taste of giants and what to expect in the world that anybody could possibly give you. So here we go.
Oh my god. Oh god. Oh my god, that's his intro now?
Hey
I knew to take my headphones off.
Welcome to another developer stream. It's just, as always, such a pleasure to be here with you guys in this moment of time that we get to spend together talking about the visual side of Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. And once again, may I prefix everything that we do with just a cheerful and hearty thank you just for not only this opportunity and time to have a chat with you guys, but also this opportunity to be able to work in this line of work. And what a privilege it is, and what a blessing it is also to be doing the craft that I love for a community that I deeply love and care about. So thank you. Right, let's get down to it.
How can that not make you smile? How can Jared not, even if you're, regardless of your opinions on concept art in general, he is like the Bob Ross of the Pantheon dev team. It's like his voice, it is just demeanor, just nice. All right, let's continue. Let's hear what he has to say.
I've been tasked with speaking to a lot of the architecture that we're using for the giants, the giant NPCs in particular. But before I speak about that, what I really want to do is just set the tone a little bit, if I can. And see, this is the thing. A giant is such a memorable, or the goal is for it to be such a memorable encounter that players will cherish for a long time. And so we don't just want to have giants running around willy-nilly in the environment. We want them to be really special, really special and memorable. So to that end, what we want to do is foreshadow them, have a type before we
what was that?
Anti-type. Have something that foreshadows the presence of giants before we actually encounter one. So as I was tasked with creating the architecture for this place, the first place I went was naturally not to architecture, but to these foreshadowing types. So let's have a look at this. When we think about giants, we think obviously size, we think strength, we think might. But what on earth could uproot a tree like this? And I thought we could create some really nice territorial markers designating their particular area. So I thought, having these indicators like giant tree roots, again, all very loose, just suggesting what's going on in the terrain, uprooted trees, and in particular when Justin spoke to me about the giants, and in particular the Elvonin giants, the area, the zone that was mentioned to me was the Rones, which is, it's almost like a polar type climate. It's very icy, there's a lot of permafrost. It's quite a cold place. So you'll see.
So the whispering, I is that Is that like Jared who's doing that himself and then like layering that back on this like pre-recorded video, or is that like, it almost sounds like Minus is like there behind while this video is playing, he's like live with his microphone just like whispering into it gently, just repeating whatever Jared says, because I get it was cool at first, but I gotta be honest, it's almost getting a little distracting. Like, it's pulling me out of what he's saying, and I was into it. This foreshadowing thing, I'm into it, but the whispering is a little confusing to me. Sparrow's like, what whispering? Yeah, I think it is just him layering it. I think so. Anyway, let's just try to move on.
See in this, which later became generic, you can see here I've put ice on them, speaking to the roans, speaking to the environment itself. But let's just dive in a little bit more. So we've got uprooted trees, suggesting before you see a giant that they're strong, and they are, and we'll see that later. But there are other things too, more subtle hints. Like, you want good transitions between zones, and you want good transitions to memorable NPC encounters. So imagine you're walking along, you're coming out of a biome type and maybe entering into...
I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. Also, it's interesting, this concept art was made in 2018. Like, this is not new concept art. This is 4-year-old concept art. Doesn't necessarily make it bad. I mean, I can only imagine the massive amount of concept art that they have just pumped out over the years. And I've never seen this particular concept art. And again, I love the idea of being able to tell that there are giants around before you actually see them. Like, that is pretty powerful. To see something like that, just as you're playing, you might stumble upon it, and it's called environmental storytelling. You're telling a story just with the inanimate objects in the world, and so if you see like a giant footprint, for example, in the ground, like even if you've never seen a giant in the game before, you know what that means. Like, especially if it looks fresh, you're gonna be like, oh crap, there's giants around here, and then that completely, like Jared says, sets the tone. Right? Like, it changes your mindset almost as you're playing, because then you're on edge, you're looking around, you're like, where's the giant? And especially if you're low level, like, that increases the risk and the tension, and that's just good gameplay.
Giant territory, and you just see this dirty grey hole in the ground. It looks fresh, it's been pulled out, but you're like, oh wow, stone has been removed from there, but you don't see the stone. And then as you're wandering further on, you'll catch a glimpse of this, or you'll get to behold it, and the stone will have, like, the fresh, like a tide mark, the soil mark on it. It's just these little indicators, these little signifiers that are gonna give our giants presence, and build tension and foreshadowing tension before the main event. So it's just another variant on that there. And again, all loose stuff, really, really loose stuff to inform Graybox.
I should just let him talk, because I'm just repeating. I haven't seen this before.
Just how the giants have utilized the terrain to their advantage to mark off their territory. So I was thinking this very organized. Big old boulder at the base, and it's not even hewn. It hasn't been cultivated in any way. It's raw. It's got a lot of lichen build up. And for the roans in particular, there'd be a little bit of frost and a couple of icicles hanging off these lower overhangs here, and then just a little bit of that really nice, frosty lichen, really hardy lichen that mountain goats like to eat. So we'll have all that sort of jazz going as well. And then just as we move
like,
along,
why?
become becoming more particular, more specific in our referencing, because the other thing that's really important to note is you want to play with scale. And the Giants give us the perfect opportunity to play with scale, especially in relation to the player and the play space as well. So,
you know, I said that the whispers were distracting, but it might actually be going full circle and actually making me more engaged in what he's saying, because it's keeping my attention. There's no denying that. Interesting. This is so interesting. I might have to employ that tactic in some of my videos in the future.
I was thinking, imagine these giants utilize the environment. They're just as industrious as humans are in their use of natural resources at this point in time. So if you came to a settlement that was actually inhabited, having this big old tree, really, really large, with a nice handmade giant axe slammed into the tree stump, and then having a couple of other cultivated wedges that have been split off, and just got me thinking, playing with scale. Let's zoom in here and have a look. Now, these are the types of things that run through my mind. Having interaction with the play space and the props in particular, like these big wedges, which are like the size of kauri trees, really giant trees. You can jump up on those, get up onto a split wedge, and then up onto the tree proper, and then actually being able to run up the haft of the axe to perhaps another structure or the windowsill of a giant dwelling, which you'll see a bit later, would be so much fun. All before you see a giant. So this is all foreshadowing. It's less about just seeing the giant itself. You want to really get a really nice build up to that. And how do we know something exists? Do we take it on faith value alone? Or is there evidence to believe? And this is what this is all about, especially with something as big a payoff as a giant encounter or reveal, because we want it to feel like a reveal. So as you get deeper into giant territory, these are the types of things that you'll start to see on a grander scale. There's a different ideology in this, whereby we would make a lamp and a brazier. They will uproot a tree, and turn it upside down and then set it on fire. So you've got these massive giant torches. That's the whole point of this. As you get deeper in, what I want to share with you is this guy here. Our Elvonin giant trebuchet. Very ancient, very worn out. It's got a lot of the insignias and motifs and design on there. And this actually helped to, in many ways, marry in with what the characters' accoutrements were speaking to, because the giants use natural stone by way of adornment in their apparel, in their architecture, in their design sensibilities, as part of who they are. So I'll just zoom in a little bit here. You can see the scale on this guy, right? Let's just go right in here and have a bit of fun with this. So it's a trebuchet on a grand scale. And imagine encountering this relic in the world. It may not be active, but you'll be seeing this, thinking, man, look at this massive rock, in the sling, ready to go, in this big trebuchet.
That is pretty
trough
sick.
Here, and then lots of
I love
weathered
trebuchets.
rope, grayed up, sun beaten, looks all a little bit, chunky.
I don't know if this is just a thing where I live, probably, because I live in New England. It just seems like a very New England. So around this time of year, maybe it's more of a fall thing. I guess it's not a winter thing, fall thing. So like every fall, in New England, and maybe elsewhere, but there are these pumpkin chucking competitions where people will literally build trebuchets. Have you guys seen this? Like, I think they've made TV shows about it and stuff, where people will literally build modern day trebuchets, or sometimes they're like air cannons, and they will, instead of throwing giant rocks like this, they will fling pumpkins like insanely far, like unbelievably far. the trebuchets in particular are just when you're actually there, it's hard to convey unless you're actually there. Like, you feel the force behind it. It's so epic to watch. Like, it's so medieval, but like to hear there you can't describe what the sound is when a pumpkin is like whipping through the air at like hundreds of miles an hour. It's like, it's a ridiculous sound. And so between that and also just I playing a lot of Age of Empires 2 growing up, like I have a particular affinity for trebuchets, and so I like the appearance of this, especially because how big it is compared to that human-sized model there. So that would be a cool thing. That would be a cool thing to in game, even if it's not actually working. You know, even if it's an inanimate object, that's cool. Also, I can't help though, but picture like what Jared, again, I know I keep getting hung up on the whispering thing, but like, is he just in his like room? He records this whole video, and then does he go back and then just whisper certain words? Because that's what it sounds like, but it just like the thought is so funny to me, just picturing him just whispering words. Just random words, like out of context. If you didn't know anything else what was going on, you'd be like, this guy is actually crazy. Because he's like, mountain goats. And then like a few seconds later, he's like, trebuchet. Like, and then he goes back and mixes it later. It sounds like he is planning ahead what words he's gonna echo. Like, there's a pause. He's talking, and then he'll pause, and he's like, this is where the whisper is gonna go, and then he keeps talking. Genius. This is mind-blowing.
Up from the weariness of time, but I just cannot wait to see this in. And these are all just sketches to inform the Graybox, so we can get those structures in. Just a lot of fun with this guy. A lot of fun with this guy. And you can see here just the motifs on here. A lot of this was addressed in the apparel. They literally stitch the rocks into their banners and into their clothing and their tunics, and hang big slabs and tablets of stone across this sort of rope structures, slinging them up. So just started to get us a really good style emerging for the Giants in particular. It's exciting stuff. Massive counterweight on the top here. And you can have, you know, different versions of this in various states of disrepair. Some of them may be freshly painted, or they look like they've been painted, but mostly you'll see them as relics of the ancient world. And lots of this, you know, big boulders hurled across the terrain to suggest that they've had many giant wars and skirmishes over the years. So yeah, that's that part. Let's keep moving though. Yeah, guys, as we're moving deeper, a little bit further in, past all those smaller incidental pieces of evidence suggesting giant presence, it was really important to actually give some substance as well and pay off in terms of architectural sensibilities and shape convention, motif, anything that's going to really establish identity for you. We want to give as much love to all of our characters and creatures as we can. So to that end, there was a modular kit that was established. And the way I started with this one is, rather than saying, okay, we're going to make a footprint for a giant city or a giant settlement, we're going to give pieces, relics, remnants that can then be put together in pleasing arrangements to give, you know, not only a good silhouette from a distance, coming through the fog volume, you know, imagine the Silent Plains or in other places of Terminus, but just so you could put these pieces together. And the first thing I thought about was just the encounter itself. What sort of play space, real estate does a giant need to move effectively for us to prove out the moveset and the encounter proper? And so I came up with these particular pieces. A wall section, which you could then create variants of, an arch section, so you've got a threshold and a doorway. And then, you know, originally when I started doing this, it was very, very circular. which seemed a lot more easy on the eye, but then I thought, these guys are really ancient. So what kind of ancient world sensibilities can I bring into their design? And I thought, well, what better way than to go back to our own ancient world? What I wanted to touch on here was just those Assyrian design principles and Babylonian principles, which were very, very geometric, speaking to an ancient and imperious world glory, now fallen and faded, but nonetheless very, very beautiful. And so you can see a little bit of wear in here. It's very ancient, it's very old, it's overgrown as well, but I wanted to get those shape conventions in, that rough geometric shape, and then just wear over top of that. But the biggest thing that emerged for me was the triangular wedge shape, and you'll see this being brought out once we get into Wild's End, where you'll encounter a giant settlement, perhaps. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, but I've used this triangular bulwark that's just added onto the walls, this bracing, and became a real strong identifier for the giants, so to speak. But this was more me having fun with playing with scale, playing with a sense of height and distance. What is easy for a giant is not easy for a player. And then the play space just started to emerge for me, and sort of a jungle gym came out of all of this. I started thinking, how's the player going to traverse this? Running up these, climbing up the vines. If it's set in the snow, maybe it's more like an ivy with snow caps on the top. But this was just a generic kit to put together. Imagine jumping big epic jumps across here, landing, and then having to climb up in big holes that have been cut out of it to get up top here. But yeah, it was so much fun. And then other things started to emerge, these things as set pieces for our architecture. I'll just zoom in a little bit more. I didn't want it just to be about giants. I wanted you to encounter other things on the way up. So like, minor wyvern nesting site. Less powerful beast dwells here. But as you go up and climb up and up and up and up, you might encounter, a wyvern nest proper. And I started to actually explore that a little bit more. Up on the top here. Great alpha male wyvern. I had a blast with this, it was really good fun. A lot of climbing puzzles, maybe some minor nest up in here, little infant wyverns circling the heights. And then, this is by no means an indication of the creature itself, but it was just, a rare spawn. Just thinking out loud. I'll just zoom in a little bit more, so you can have a look at him. All just thought process as something incidental that came out of the giant kit. But, so much fun, guys.
Okay, so we finally come to it, guys. This is what we've all been leading up to. All these little subtle evidences, all leading us to this dwelling here that we've got. So you can see here, this is a typical giant dwelling, and the idea was to have it using the Assyrian and Babylonian design principles set in, very rectilinear, very geometric, repetition of structure, and a lot of use of vertical, just to give it some height to, and a lot of framing. So it comes from a position of strength. It's got a lot of framing, very rigid structures, and the idea was to make sure that it looked like it had been hewn straight out of the mountainside itself.
Out of the mountain.
So here you can see you've got some of those Assyrian influences in here, repetition of design structure, just to give it some density of detail as well, and then this very, very strong geometric doorway call out here, which will become a signifier for all of our, especially our Alvonan giant design call outs there.
Yeah, but no dwelling is complete without furnishings.
And this, for me, this was the big thing when it came to the giants, especially as they are presented in Wild's End, is playing with that sense of scale. And so our giants not necessarily being possessed of purely a brute nature, but also a scholarly one. What I want to really showcase is their desire to engage in scholarly activities. And so I thought, what better way to showcase scale than to take the smaller elements of our own human existence and then expand them and blow them up to a gargantuan scale and to giant proportions, so that by contrast, when we are interacting as players, jumping up on these little ottoman stools here and then jumping up on the tabletops, by contrast we are seen as very small in the world. And that's what I was trying to set down here. Little touches too, like to show off the weathered ancient scholarly nature of ours, especially our Elvonid giants, is this large ancient prismatic cipher which has descriptive code for deciphering their languages and various scholarly activity. There's so much to show, there's so many things I want to share with you guys, but time just doesn't permit it. Hey guys, you're seeing further reinforcement of this iconography, strong geometric iconography. The braziers that the giants possess is a South American influence, it's a Mayan, Aztec influence, and I wanted to transpose that over top of these strong geometric repetitious stone structures by way of this ancient giant throne, which you'll see in the heights atop a stately stairwell lined with these stone braziers. But what I really wanted to show you guys was something that I think was pretty special. When Justin spoke to me about our giants and the nature of their plight, it was actually quite touching. It actually made me feel a little bit sad, because
that is really cool, and it is, if he's trying to channel Aztec architecture, I'm getting a lot of that vibe, and so I think mission accomplished there. That happens to be an aesthetic that I'm very fond of personally. Speaking of, I was talking about Age of Empires 2, and Aztecs were my main civilization when I was playing a long time ago, and so I really like that. I just really like that vibe. In fact, you might notice he's talking about the motifs that are very based on like straight lines and angles and thickness and strength and that sort of thing. And again, not to bring the conversation back to my logo again, but you notice that was very intentional aspect of the new logo design that I did for my channel. What is it, 2020 now? Like almost a couple years ago. Sticking with those, thick, straight edges. It's just an aesthetic that I really like. So, hey, Stone to the Bone, thanks for the raid. I hope you are. Hope you're doing well as well. I'm doing great. I have been this video from Jared has made me laugh quite a bit. But I'm enjoying it. And in fact, when you popped about, I had reclined my chair. I'm just kind of taking it in, because there's something very just relaxing about his voice and the music that he's playing. Let's jump right back into it. Let's see. It looks like we're at 25 minutes out of 43, so we're a little more than halfway through the overall stream.
Such a mighty race, fallen. And I thought, how am I going to reflect this in the artwork? I could have relics of old lying around, but I wanted to showcase that it wasn't just their glory that had been laid in the dust. It was also their ideology and the works of their hands, their lore and practice. And I thought, what better way to showcase this than a statue prone before glory, with its head removed, which is the seat of its thought, its ideology, its practices, its customs, its cultures, no more to be carried out in the works of its hands. So yeah, it was a way of me injecting that particular piece of philosophy into giant architecture, just to showcase how fallen they are. And in knowing that the works of our hands are first made manifest in our minds and in our thoughts, let us never weary of doing good. Alright guys, take care, look after yourselves. A hearty thank you from all of us here at VR for the special work that you do for us to keep us going. Okay guys, take care. Watch out for giants.
All right.
Jared's amazing. I feel like anytime I'm like anxious, I'm just gonna like put on one of Jared's videos and like it'll totally calm me down. The best part is like that's the edited version of that video. So we need to put out like a director's cut at some point with like you know the entire thing.
2 hours long.
Yeah, he had a lot of stuff there, and you guys can hear like what's great about Jared sharing with the community from the stuff we get to do internally, David, is that mindset is so present in the team. That like level of detail. Like I hope everybody kind of got an idea of like when he's designing how a rock is shaped, whether it's squared or circular, it has all this thought and meaning into what these beings in Terminus are going to have behind them, the story behind them. And it's going to make when you encounter anything, like almost anything in the world that's native to Terminus, you're going to have this feeling and this excitement about it and the story and the reasoning. It's awesome. It's so exciting to talk to Jared, and I love when he gets to share his passion with the world. So,
yeah, true story. And thank you to Jared. And Minus, did you know that Pantheon is a crowdfunded game and that we rely on our patrons to help us keep going here? If you like what you see, please head on over to pantheonmmo.com, and we have plenty of pledge tiers to check out. Got some really exciting stuff coming for this year. But let's be honest with you, all the lore stuff, I'm a lore head, and that video is going to be dissected for months to come. But as much of a lore head as I am, it doesn't matter if you don't back up what you're talking about in game. So I think a good place to start would be, let's see where we were. Was September a couple months ago?
Yep.
You want to roll? Let's roll some of the footage where we were in Wild's End. So what you're looking at here, Minus, you want to talk about it?
Yeah. So this was pretty quick work done in Wild's End. Right when Tim came on board, I believe, and started really fleshing out what Wild's End was going to look like. And we did a big reveal. You guys can go back and check out that stream if you want to see that. But yeah, this is what that area looked like. A lot of the Ghaldassi, which you were speaking to in the lore, a lot of what Jared was talking to in the ruins. That's kind of what we had shown the world, right? In that Graybox form. That was, again, not that long ago. So I wanted to kind of preface what we're about to show with, that's where we were not too long ago. People were pretty excited about that. I remember the well pond getting really, people were really pumped about that and seeing how that world was coming to be. But David, I think we got something better.
I think you're right. You want to show some of the new, where the world is now. And I think if you want to throw up some of these screenshots, these are images that Minus and I captured in game, the game presently. Obviously, we are in development, so know that as awesome as some of this stuff is, it's a work in progress. Everything from the lighting to the skybox. There's a bunch of levers and knobs, and really refining the final look of and feel of the world. The floor is not in, but enough excuses. Let's really look at how amazing we've come in such a short period of time.
That ain't Graybox.
Yeah, and to add to that, David, I think the reason we're prefacing with that, we're really excited about what we're about to show you. But David and I are really sometimes jumping in here trying to get approval to show everybody things that maybe aren't done or they're in progress or could change. But we want to share that with the community. So we prefaced that a lot of this is still work in progress, but to just show you how far we're coming. So David, this first screenshot, I'll talk a little bit about, and we can kind of maybe rotate through or something. But I really love that you see some of the ruins broken off, what used to kind of go into the ocean there. And just seeing some of the damage, because remember, you can even see in chat, and if you're not seeing this live, you're missing some great stuff in chat. But Joppa and everybody talking about how these giants, aren't maybe all here right now. Some things have happened in the lore. You could hear that. So that's a good one. Let me jump to the next one here real quick. Ooh, David, I'm sorry.
Oh, geez. Wonder how that got in there. Very funny.
I totally forgot to take that out. I know we were just testing some angles and lighting and stuff, but let's just go ahead and skip past that one.
Yeah, good idea. So this is what I love about the world that we're building. And I know I've gone on about it on other streams, but I think this is such a great indication of scale. When you walk in, when you're in an MMO, I think scale really gives a sense of place. It gives a sense of the lore and the history. but it really adds to like the world that you're playing in, and you can really see how big these giants were. This is you're a halfling here, so you don't get the full scale. But I think you can really start to see as we kind of go through these shots how big these structures are, and the fact that the Ghaldassi built this with their hands, and these let's scroll through. Let's see some more of these.
Yeah, and I think when you kind of brought up that whole building this with their hands, what's really cool about that is they're using these giant slabs of stone. Where you humans are building with wood, and they need a bunch of people to push it up, or if they use stone, it's a big process. The giants are literally picking these slabs up with the strength they have, with the size they have to build these buildings. So this is a little bit more of an overhead shot, kind of looking at everything there.
I mean, this is a beautiful shot, and like this, I'm trying to remember where in Wild's End this is, because like this looks completely different from when we saw it when it was Graybox. Like, is the southern side of Wild's End this way or that way? You can get a pretty good eye on the distance here, and it's like a lot of I know it's missing vegetation and stuff, but all the work that they've done with the terrain streaming system and just replacing the Graybox terrain with like actual eroded terrain here looks great. Oh, look, there's a little ramp there. It's almost unrecognizable from the stream 4 months ago. Pretty sure left is south. I think that's true. So Eastern Plains is that way, like that's where you zone in. Does that mean? But the what was it called? Was it the Merc? Where it's like a swamp? Wouldn't that be? Is that somewhere in here then? I'm trying to remember. Camera is facing rainfall, so we're facing west, right? Yeah, we're facing west. That's north, south, then east. So Sorhirith is behind us. Okay, I think that makes sense.
I love that if you peer off in the distance there's something out there. So it's kind of cool, right, David? Like,
little island.
There's quite a world shaping around us.
Some sirens
I also just
out there.
love you get these little sort of pockets of water, and then you kind of leading out to this vast ocean, and like you said, like who knows what's out there. This is just a part of the Ghaldassi ruins. We obviously got some more to show.
Yep.
Don't want to spoil everything.
So that's the pond in front. Some of the broken ruins there as well. I think this is the first time we've shown some of our current water effects, right?
That's correct. And we'll get a little bit into that in the patch notes.
Patch notes.
The next one here. Another view from sort of that side there with the staircase, a very large staircase.
Yeah. And we'll get a...
Yep. Oh, look at that bridge.
This is the beginning of the rise, the Ghaldassi rise, right?
Yep. So you guys saw flying up this, up towards that ocean out view. You can see that it's destroyed. There's going to probably be, it's been said a lot, even in the chat here today, David, the climbing. What's going to need to be done for climbing? How are we going to traverse some of these giant areas? Because it's not always just going to be walking up steps. Some of the steps are big, right? Like even getting up a step. So
yeah, we'll hit that a little bit, but I think the important thing also to remember is you're just seeing the stone, you're just seeing the outline of the work in progress. Wait till the lighting comes in, wait till the flora comes in, the fauna, like this area. Wild's End in general. You and I talked about this earlier. Yeah. Just the difference between going from zone to zone. Well, this was your thing. I don't want to steal it. So
no. Yeah, I mean, what we were talking about is just going from somewhere like Throne Fast or AVP, which, we're going to be really excited to show that soon. But just going from how that feels, the forest and, that human culture, and then coming into Wild's End is just, it's really like being in a different part of the world. The world still feels connected. it still has a similar art, but man, the structure size and the way that the zone presents itself, I think people are going to be pretty taken.
You guys know why that is, right? Lore junkies, like that. The genius about the way that Pantheon's lore is set up, and in turn the way that the world is set up, is that literally Wild's End literally is a different world than Thronefast. Part of the same continent on Terminus, but for those of you who don't know, Terminus is just a conglomeration of fragments from other planets that were mysteriously put together. And so that's why you get these sometimes really abrupt changes in biome, because it literally is from a different world. It's otherworldly. So, and I think that will be even more dramatic now that the world is seamless. The overworld, anyway. You're traveling between these areas without zone lines. I think it's going to become even more striking that as you travel and you're passing through, like, oh, you're in like a forest, and then suddenly you're in like a jungle, and you keep traveling, and then you're in this like ice area or whatever the case may be. Like that'll be pretty interesting.
Over by excitement coming into this zone. I really do. So you guys can see another picture here, that same staircase, but we swung around. You can see the scale. So again, massive. Even the stairs themselves are massive.
Yeah, it's like you actually need to be somewhat proficient in climbing to get up them.
Yeah.
Especially if you're me. But
yeah,
this, I think, another overhead shot, that you could see the architecture of the arcways that Jared was talking about. I love his decision to kind of go with a more sort of, less rounded and more kind of squared off thing. It really fits the tone. But, and here you can see, again, you're only seeing part of the ruins. You're only seeing part of the rise. We didn't want to spoil everything. If you're standing on those steps and you look behind you, there's an entire like mountainside full of architecture, and you can kind of get a glimpse of it here. Again, this is sort of work in progress, so the terrain's not completely built on the right side, but you can see how the architecture that the Ghaldassi are building here are built within the mountain range.
It built right into it, rough, like almost like, again, using that strength to just carve this society out of the side of a giant mountain. It's pretty cool. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that. That was the last screenshot there. Cool. So, that was cool because we got to get into the world. We took these shots in game. We were running all over, right? So what do you think? You think everyone liked that?
I think they liked it, but I think we might be able to do one better. I think we could show some footage.
We want to show some footage?
Yeah, I think maybe we can show a little bit of footage.
All right, just everybody's going to need to make sure Joppa doesn't look. But let's go ahead and this is us running around in the world and taking some videos. So here we go.
Yeah.
So you can, we can talk over it, but people check it out. You can see the water moving. We're just using in-game camera tools to take this.
Yeah, so it's a little rocky, no pun intended. But you can really start again. The screenshots are one thing when you see the footage, and you can see how you traverse through this areas, how you traverse through the the architecture. And here's
I think this is right before I stabbed you.
Yeah. You could see, it's a good sense of scale too. Minus my corpse. But
remember, this is going. Remember in the old footage, this was going on that ocean overlook, which Joppa's talked about many times on how exciting that is, right? To see that overlook of ocean and what that could mean for what's out there. What can we get to? Yeah,
and you can see as you're running here again, like these are steps. Some of the we ran right by the steps, but especially for a halfling. Walking, you can see how giant this area is.
No pun intended.
That's 2 puns. That's 2 puns. One more and you got a drink.
Let's let this roll through one more time just for people to check out. I'm sure people are going to go back and look at it, but a lot of fun capturing. Really excited to do a lot more of this as we get more of the floral online, the trees, the grass. And I'm going to tell you guys, David, can I use the word? That soon you guys are going to see that in action. I don't want to give a date yet, but there has been some incredible strides in the floral, the grass. You guys heard Kyle talking about the fact that it's going to be bending and trees blowing in the wind in the programming that he discussed. Really cannot wait to show you some of the work that the team has done in Thronefast. So I think everyone's going to be excited.
Yeah, that's going to be, when that is done, that's going to be really fun to compare that side by side with the very bare gray boxing that we saw even 4 months ago. I gotta say, actually, having the water system in and looking pretty good, like you can see the foam up where it interacts with the edge of the land. They got that in a little bit faster than I was expecting. Like that alone is not a huge thing, but it's pretty encouraging
to see that in the not too distant future. So, but,
yeah, for sure. Rob is crushing it. Like the tech side of things is just starting to look amazing. I'm really, once people kind of get in and see things again, hopefully. I'm not going to use the word soon there. That would get me in trouble. I think you're really going to, you'll see a familiar but completely like this sort of new world in a lot of ways, because it's, it's just it, and things run smooth. Again, we were using the in-game camera, which unfortunately still needs some tweaking, but the everything runs so smooth. And I have my computer's like 5 years old.
Yeah, it's exciting. And as a halfling, for me, seeing Wild's End is super exciting. It's just such a spectacular, and it's been said in chat a lot during the stream, is that halflings are so small. You have this juxtaposition of like
that's a new word.
Giants and then this smaller race, right? And it really plays off of itself. And like you said, scale, such an important thing. So, David, I think you have a couple last updates that we can share out there with everybody before we call it a stream.
Yeah. We'll Joppa's not here to read the patch notes, and I don't have my guitar, so we won't be singing them. But we got some updates in game that we're gonna fill you in, and for more, obviously check out the newsletter. That'll come out in a month. We'll get a little bit of an update on the road to alpha. But here's what we got for now. On the tech side of things, we implemented a biome and terrain texturing systems, completed initial implementation of water tech. On the art side of things, we implemented additional NPC models and variants, and we refined Thronefast environment design. On the design side, tell me if you feel like interjecting, by the way, feel free.
No, go for it. You're doing good.
The design side of things, we brought Dire Lord, Shaman, and Rogue classes to play test ready state. So
exciting.
Sit on that one for a while. We decimated Thronefast animal population. We repopulated Thronefast with more Thronefastian animals. Accidentally summoned throngs of undead in the process. Please send help. No, that's not there. Provided both undead and animals a slew of new abilities with which to hunt, maim, or kill players. Oh, great. I need that. Reviewed and corrected placement of mining nodes against updated terrain. And hopefully we'll get Neff on here at some point doing some of that
crafting discussion, gathering,
crafting. Yep. Updated experience requirements per level, implemented spell interruption chance on physical damage taken, and trained spiders, snakes, and other forest critters to stop parrying.
That's great. I love patch
notes. That's big right there. That's huge.
Stop parrying. And then other various bugs, fixes, and tweaks. So.
Yeah, good one. Nice toss in there.
Yeah.
Next week we're gonna have someone else co-hosting.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. I love it. I love the it's not just building a world but theming it, right? Like what animals fit in Thronefast, and I love that. When we read the decimated Thronefast animal population, that was pretty incredible. I enjoyed that greatly. But yeah, I mean, David, I think we've covered a lot. In-game screenshots. We got some in-game video. Thank you to Jared. That video he put together was awesome. I saw the chat talking about the whispers and the tone, and I got to tell you, when we first watched it, we're laughing and smiling, and even David, when we were sitting here behind the scenes while I was playing, we're smiling and giggling at his foreshadowing. So he's incredible. So.
Yeah, and apologies, JN. I'm sorry if I butchered your lore. Next time, feel better, and you can read it yourself.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks everyone for joining us today.
Signed all of us.
We hope you enjoyed today's stream. And like we said, 2022 is going to be an extraordinary year here. If you like what you saw, please head on over to pantheonmmo.com and hit a pledge tier. We have so many varieties for so many different price ranges. And thanks, Minus.
No, excited. I think we did okay. We didn't get fired. We're good. We're in good shape.
I think that it's still Thursday, right? Okay. Well, as Joppa would say, onward and upward.
Take care, everybody.
All right. That was enjoyable. That was fun. That was probably the most I've laughed in any dev stream. That's for sure. That was good. I want to point out though, so I saw some people talking about like the negative comments that I haven't even read. I'm looking at them. I'm looking at briefly scrolling through the comments right now. But I'm not surprised at all that some people would kind of react negatively to that stream. I'm not surprised. As much as I enjoyed it, they said at the beginning that their goal with these shorter streams was to cut down on the fluff and provide, more hard-hitting information. And I don't think this stream accomplished that entirely. It wasn't a complete flop by any means, because the videos and the screenshots that we saw at the end, like I said, did look really good. It was a really good comparison to where it was even 4 months ago. Like, I think that's, for that area, that's a good amount of progress in that time. So it's just, it's the fact that was only a small percentage of the overall stream, and there's really nothing wrong with concept art in and of itself. And like I said, Jared did a good job at making the concept art entertaining, because it can, to a lot of people, it can seem like, what's the point of looking at concept art, unless you're like really invested in the lore or something. The concept art is a really is a vital, absolutely vital part of game development. But looking at it probably doesn't make most people, it doesn't make the average person feel like things are actually getting done. And because, you can pump out concept art all day, every day without actually building a playable game, so not that that's what's happening, but that, that can be an impression that a lot of people get. And so for that reason, I'm not sure if these monthly dev streams are the right place for that sort of thing. Again, like, if that's a separate video or whatever the case may be, like, that's great. Like, I still think that should be available. But to the people who just tune in to these, just tune into the monthly streams to see, where the game is at, what's getting done, what sort of progress the game is making. I'm not sure that that's what those people want to see. Me, I don't really care. I did not have. I didn't come to this stream with those expectations. And just from my perspective, since I'm following like every platform every day, like I know that things are getting done. So I don't rely on these streams to be reassured of that. But I know that I'm in the minority, and there are a lot of people that do just poke in every once in a while. With that said, though, so that's one aspect of it. At the same time, though, at this point in time, they probably did not really have much of a choice, because of the work actually goes back to the network library swap that they're in the process of right now. And like part of the reason why I came into this stream with low expectations about seeing, like mind-blowing progress was because when they're working on the network library implementation, and again, if this doesn't make sense, it'll make sense in the video that comes out next week. But when Kyle actually goes to take out their network library, their current network library, and replace it with the new one that they have standing by, when he's doing that, the game doesn't work. Like the devs, devs need to be able to connect to servers just like anybody else, and without a network library, you can't do that. At least in order to showcase like group gameplay, like the big reveals, the actual gameplay that we want to see. Screenshots are one thing, but like showing actual live gameplay can't happen when this in-depth work is being done on their network library. Like what's the best way to describe this? The work that is being done on the network library is basically like open heart surgery, okay? And the game is undergoing surgery, necessary surgery. Like, first, let's establish that Pantheon as an MMORPG at a technical level, I'm speaking just technically, specifically about because of the network library, the game is fundamentally flawed right now. Like, it needs heart surgery. Okay. Now the good news is that it needs a heart transplant, specifically, to continue this analogy. Not just heart surgery. It needs a new heart. Okay. And the good news is that there is already a compatible heart transplant standing by and ready to go. And it's just a matter of taking the old one out and putting the new one in. Obviously, it's complicated and it will take time, but it needs to be done. And if you're in the middle of a heart transplant surgery, you're not going to get off the operation table and do a dance, right? Like, you just can't. You can't. You're in surgery. And that, in essence, is where they're at. And so Pantheon, being in the middle of this heart transplant surgery, can't get up and just like show off in amazing ways. When the heart transplant is done, because the new heart, again, stick with me on this analogy, because the new one will be so much better, then they're going to be off and running marathons, but until then, it's just not possible. So and by the way, Brendyn did give us a heads up about this. Like, this is not an unexpected thing. In fact, even October, I think it was October 2020. Go back to go to the library pantheon.com. Go to the developer interview that Nathan Napalm did with Brendyn. And Brendyn specifically said that he was answering a question about, you know, the dev team kind of like going dark, and like, you know, if that will ever need to happen, where like they just kind of all go underground because they need to do work, kind of like, you know, what happened with Project Fairthale and the whole, you know, kerfuffle that caused, and you know, because they were underground for so long rebuilding the entire game, you know, and the worry that caused. And so it's like, you know, asking, will they ever need to do that again? And the answer is not really, but the only, you know, major surgery left that they have to do on the game is this network library replacement, and it won't take nearly as long as that whole Project Fairthale dark period took. You know, we're talking, they estimate 2 months. It could take 3 months. You know, we'll just have to wait and see. But, you know, that's kind of the time frame that we're looking at, where they just literally will not be able to do like big mind-blowing reveals. And so knowing that helps you to kind of tune your expectations, you know, for maybe in the next 2 or 3 dev streams. You know, they have these you know, they have these screenshots and stuff, which are great, but that's just holding over until the network library replacement is done, and then you know, then they can go back to those big reveals. So just something to keep in mind, something, you know, don't be surprised if that's the case for the next few months or so. Mordred says, I can understand they don't want to spoil too much. I bet there's a live session coming up somewhat soon. Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it too. You know, you know, you don't want to show your whole hand. You know, that wouldn't be funny there. Rancid Turnip says they're working on big stuff right now. Network library ties into pretty much everything except terrain. Yeah, well put. And it is. But the good news is that, you know, it's the way that they have it like phrased on the alpha to-do list is that it's like a network overhaul. And again, I've talked about before, like the term overhaul, you can kind of sometimes get tired of hearing that term if it keeps happening. Like, oh, another overhaul. They're overhauling this. They're overhauling that. Like, it can be worrying, and not seem like a good thing. But in this case, with the network library, it is absolutely essential. If you want more than like a few dozen people playing on your server, literally, this network library replacement needs to happen. It just needs to happen. And the good news is that once it's done, that's the last major surgery that they'll need to, you know, then they'll have this new, like, you know, bionic Superman body compared to the broken husk that it used to be. Keld52 says, I'm a Pats fan. I mean, yeah. Like I said, I'm from New England. Always lived in New England, so can't help it. I just went to the Patriots game. I will say, not to hedge. I'm not like a die-hard football fan in general. I enjoy football. I'm not gonna like fight you over it or anything though. But But I did. I just went to Gillette in January and got the sweatshirt there. It is very comfy. So yeah. And I'll be watching the Super Bowl this Sunday, even though the Patriots are not in it. Abrupt change of topics. Are you guys into kombucha? Do you guys drink kombucha? Because this is another thing that I've been really into lately. It is delicious and it's good for you. It just makes you feel good. Like carbonated fermented tea, basically. So good. This one is not a sponsor. Pavita Raspberry Lemon. And it's delicious. You guys, if you haven't tried kombucha, you should go try kombucha. It is so good. Crinkled One says, I just want some PA testing. We'll get there. We're getting there. The list is short. Especially if water is already in. Like, that was a big one. Even as of just like a couple weeks ago, that was still like on their to-do list before the next PA testing session, and seems like that's already in good shape. So like I said, there's like, you know, they're about to crest this speed bump, you know, but then after that it'll be smooth sailing for the most part. It's not like a, you know, it's not like they're just gonna everything's suddenly just gonna magically be done, but the big hump will be in the past. Crinkled One says sometimes it tastes no better than vinegar. Better homemade. I mean, so some of the flavors of kombucha and some of the brands of kombucha I have tried have not been good. That's absolutely true. I think it, to me, it really depends. It just depends on the flavor. Can't really go wrong with raspberry lemon though. I like this brand in particular though, because it's just got a lot of flavor. Mordred says, you're 100% sure you can't get it around where you live? Why? Is this more regional than I realized? I can't think of a reason why. It's not alcoholic. I mean, it's technically, so it's like fermented, but they have the alcohol removed from it. So it's got like no alcohol in it. It's supposed to be really good for you. It's got probiotics. It's like good for your gut. Got like very low, 60 calories in this whole thing. Yeah, Crinkled One says, make some tea, wait, and it'll eventually be kombucha. That's true. Make your own. I've never tried to make my own homemade kombucha. That would kind of make me nervous. I would be interested to try though. If you could do it right, I bet it would be good. There's nothing stopping you, Mordred. Just make your own. You live in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean? Do your arms get tired? Like... You don't get many international products. I guess that makes sense. I guess that's a good... You should try to find some land, though. Living in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean sounds very salty. It sounds like you're very damp. Anyway, that in summary, those are my thoughts on this stream, and just the path forward in general. Again, if none of that makes any sense, all I can say is that subscribe to youtube.com/BAZGRIMTV if you haven't already, and then check back next week, and I'll have a video that will break it down from start to finish, very digestible way. So I'll just leave it at that for now, I really enjoyed hanging out with you guys. I hope to see you around. They're on YouTube and Discord, wherever. Thank you for joining me today, hanging out. This was a good time. Look forward to doing it again next month. So hope to see you there. We'll do same time, same place. And so I'll see you there, if not before. But until then, please, everybody, stay curious and adventure on.